Well, hello there, everyone. How are you today? This Tuesday, May the 13th. Welcome in. Welcome back. We are here today for Sebastian Rogers. Welcome in. Hello, Jen in Georgia. Hello, All I Need Is Crime. True Crime. Excuse me one second. Let me put my show up here real quick. We are going to be talking about Sebastian Rogers. Hi, I have new socks on. Hello, hello. All I need is Jesus. Joanne McNeil, busy mama. I am not giving up on Sebastian. I will not give up on Sebastian. Hi, Justice for Kylo. Hi, Becky Laux. Hi, Wild Child for Life. I didn't change it today. I had changed it the last couple of days, been planning to do this live and kept postponing it, but I yesterday set it for today. So I'm glad you're all here. It is today. I'm not sure why, a little confusion, maybe because I had changed it. It says May 13th, which is today. So good to see you. Hi, Carrie. Hope you're still in here. Hi, Zena. Hi, Meow. Hello, everyone. Hi, Julie. Hi, Shadow. Hi, Audrey's Journey. Hi, Jacqueline. Hello, the real me too. How are you? Hi, true crime lover, Marley. Good to see you all. Well, we are discussing Sebastian Rogers. Sebastian Rogers is now 16, 15 when he went missing in Hendersonville, Tennessee. And we need to keep raising awareness to the fact that Sebastian has not been brought home and there has not been any justice for Sebastian yet. So we need to keep saying Sebastian's name. Hi, Bliss Blessings. I hope all of you are having a great day. Thank you for listening in. Hi, Purple Sneakers. Hello, hello. Sunday, you all. I was re-listening to an interview. Hi, Nyla Brandner. And I am telling you, I listened to something and I'm going to share it with you. But in my opinion, it says it all, that it happened Sunday. And I'm telling you, it's my opinion. I'm going to share it with you. But to me, it is so very, very telling. We have a good show today. Going to share two things that point to Sunday, flat out, said out loud, in my opinion, CP telling us, and then ways that KP showed us. So don't forget, hit that thumbs up. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. If you like the show, subscribe. Come on back, please. So it's so good to see all of you. So CP told us, KP showed us. We got a great show. We have a goal going today. We will, if you would like to have some bonus time with, rest in peace, the very valuable Peter Hyatt, we have a goal of any color, 20 super chats, and we can remain for bonus time for Peter Hyatt. So I'm sorry, all I need is Jesus. You didn't get your 30-minute heads up. You know what I noticed, and I don't know if you guys get it, but like when I pre-post a video, I can go below it and it says notify me. Can you do that where you go into a channel and see that they have something coming up and click notify me? Is that how it works for you all? So, well, welcome in. Without further ado, hi, Peter Pan. How are you? I'm working on the CC, the closed caption, Peter Pan. So I've got my volume extra loud. I hope you all can hear me. Hello, little Miss Sharon. So the narrative, interestingly enough, for the disappearance of Sebastian Rogers, he was reported missing February 26, 2024, which was a Monday morning. Prior to him leaving for school, he was not in his bed, according to Mom, who was home alone with him, indicating that he disappeared Monday, sometime between midnight and 6 a.m. on the 26th. Hello, Joanne Marie. Hi, Roxy R. However, there have been a lot of indications that make us wonder, did this go down on Sunday? Some wondering, did Sebastian Rogers make it home Sunday night from the Texas Roadhouse? I'm one who does lean towards he made it home. But do I know 100? No, None of us do. So, did he make it home that night? Why is Sunday so important in the narrative? All of Sunday. Hi, Twitch. Hi, Shirley H. No arrests yet. Keeping it out there. Hi, Gypsy Girl. So, why, when your child goes missing, in my opinion, and you're asked what happens on those very, very first days, hours of your interviews? Hi, the real me. And why? Sorry, I was watching the chat. Why would the narrative begin literally 24 hours before in the morning? Why? The narrative, in my opinion, should be we went to dinner, we got home. That's where I would start the narrative. Then we went to bed, boom. But it starts the Sunday morning with spaghetti pancakes. So when the mom, KP, Katie Proudfoot, we refer to her as KP if you're new to the case, the stepfather is CP or Babyfoot. When KP refers to the narrative of what happened, she rewinds to Sunday morning. Well, I believe that's because it's very relevant. Hi, Susan Furman. I believe that's because it's very, very relevant. Okay. And because she begins with the spaghetti pancakes. So I think Sunday's relevant. There's things that are left out on Sunday. There's things that are odd on Sunday, and we're going to look at them. But the first thing we're going to do is I want you to listen to what I listened to, and I listened to it over again, and it caught me by surprise. You know, we go back to those little nuggets, right? We go back and we listen to those interviews, and I'm telling you, each time I pick up something different. Google it, y'all. Yes. And someone won, I donated that t-shirt and someone won that during our Mother's Day live. And I'm going to be getting all the gifts and winners together. Bear with me. I'm going to be doing that in the next 24 hours. Thank you for that Mother's Day show. It was a lot of fun. And I am going to post my link again to my Google It Y'all t-shirt, but it is on the shop on the channel for those of you who are asking before I put a link on my post. But it's in the shop on my channel. So Google it, y'all. Yes. So let's listen to this. It is Web Sleuth, full credit to, and it is CP and Seth have come onto the panel and while she was interviewing and speaking to the private investigators. Something CP says to Seth blew my mind. And I want you to hear it. We're probably going to listen to it more than once, but I want you to listen to it and see what you think it says about Sunday night. 1 second.
I think he's just trying to clear up a bunch of BS that's been online.
Right. And I'm trying, and I'm telling you, if he's had this suspicion, he's got my mother's phone number. He can pick up the phone and call her. It's clear.
And that's why I asked about his day, because
Let's
I didn't
go back
know.
to the day. Okay, go ahead.
No. Okay. So Chris, you don't know me very well. I have 2 decades of experience working with autistic children to have ran out.
You can show me the video footage, buddy.
So that's the same statement law enforcement has made. That's the same statement I'm going to tell you every single day in and day out.
Katie gave my son to your mother and father. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. And it's not really
into this. We're not going to play this tit for tat on social media. We're not doing this.
Okay, Seth, go ahead.
Chris, unbeknownst to you, had already talked to Sebastian. He knew this wouldn't be a permanent thing. And me and him had already spoken.
Well, that right there is a conversation you should have had with Katie and myself about what your plans were.
I'm sorry, do you want?
Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
What Seth was saying is that if I had known the conversation that him and Sebastian had, then I would know the whole thing. But the downside is that's where Seth should have had that same conversation with me and Katie, and that didn't happen. But this goes right back to, here's the thing. If you're saying that because he didn't want to go live with his dad, he potentially ran away, is that a possibility? Sure, we'll put that out there.
Okay.
But quite honestly, what goes on between Seth, me, his mom, and our households is none of the public's business. If it had something to do with his disappearance, I would understand that, but it doesn't.
Well, we don't know that.
Well, I understand that. That's why we're making this clear.
And that's
Right.
why I asked about his day, because I
Let's
didn't
go back
know.
to the day. Okay, go ahead, Miguel.
No, okay. So, Chris, you don't know me very well. I have 2 decades of experience working with autistic children in different capacities. So I do understand they are all different. I do understand that that day may have been very overstimulating for him. So that's why I was asking if that was a normal day for him. And if it wasn't, that just gives me more information that maybe he was very overstimulated that day.
It's coming, guys.
Chris?
So, all right. So one more time. I'm so sorry.
I was just saying, in my experience with autistic children, obviously they're all different. But if this was not a normal day for Sebastian on Sunday when he went and did all of these things, and it sounds like he was gone from home for a while, if this wasn't a normal day for him, would this have been an overstimulating day for him? Is this something normal? Does he normally go to BJ's and bowling and all of these things on a weekend? Or was this kind of like a special thing? And if it was a special thing, what caused it to be special? Was there an occasion?
If it was a special thing, a mother and a son bonding and just having a good time.
I'm not being ugly at all.
I'm not. I'm making the statement.
Is this a normal day for them on a weekend? For them to do
our days fluctuate. Monday through Friday, we're a working family, just like everybody else out there. And when the weekend comes, that's when you get a lot of stuff done. You go a lot of places, you do a lot of things. And a lot of times that's where, you go and spend time with your kids and do extra things. Sebastian's not in sports like most kids. So we don't spend ball time at the ballpark. When Seth has Sebastian on the weekends, he goes and does fishing and things like that with Sebastian just as well. I mean, Seth works long hours. I work long hours.
And I'm not saying any of that is suspicious at all, Chris. I'm just asking if that was normal. Because if it wasn't normal and he was overstimulated, that could be a reason for him to have ran out of the house.
No.
Okay.
He was not overstimulated.
Okay, so that wasn't one of the possible reasons for him to leave.
Here's what I'll say. Everything is on the table. Nothing has been taken off the table, period. That's the same statement law enforcement has made. That's the same statement I'm going to tell you every single day in and day out.
Katie gave my son to your mother and father. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that.
Say it one more time.
Do you not want to say that? But we can move on. So
No. I want to hear it.
Here it comes.
There's a rumor out there, Chris, that your mom and your dad have Sebastian. It's been brought up to me.
Seth, darn good and well, you got a question about my
I'm just asking.
You pick up the
Did
phone.
they take me somewhere to like a boot camp or anything like that? And Katie just thought I wouldn't accept it.
I don't think Seth is being accusatory. I think he's just trying to clear up a bunch of BS that's been online.
Right. And I'm trying, and I'm telling you, if he's had this suspicion, he's got my mother's phone number. He can pick up the phone and call her. She is not afraid to answer any
Chris, I'm
questions.
asking you. I don't want to talk to your mom. I want to talk to you, and I want to talk to Katie.
Well, it's real simple, Seth.
To put it to the rest.
You have seen the video footage of Seth on Sunday. Don't tell me you hadn't. I know you have. You sat in the room with all the agents.
No, they didn't show me the video footage, buddy.
So you didn't see, you weren't sitting in a room with law enforcement, the district attorney, when they showed you a video when you wanted proof of life, saying that you hadn't seen proof since Friday. When you've been at my house the first 3 damn days.
Sunday, buddy.
Chris, let Seth speak. Go ahead, Seth.
Chris, they showed me video proof of him coming out of Texas Roadhouse on Sunday.
On a Sunday night. You damn right.
Just, Chris.
Seth, I got a problem with you sitting here making these accusations. Because if you got a problem with them, guess what?
Let's squash it.
I think we're just trying to talk things out, and I don't even know if this should be public, honestly.
Same.
Okay, here's all the public knowledge you need on this deal. Law enforcement has talked to my parents, my whole family. Once again, the statement is true, what law enforcement says. Just because you hear a rumor doesn't make it true.
Chris,
I don't think he said it was true. I think he's just trying to clarify.
He said
That's not clarifying. No, stop sitting here trying to defend his actions. Stop.
Okay.
The fact is, Chris, is I'm trying to squash the rumor. We're both here squashing the rumor.
Seth, there is no rumor. You know my parents were not with Katie on Sunday.
That's all I'm doing, Chris.
No, you're causing a problem Friday. When you've been at my house the first 3 damn days, all you got to do is pick up the phone and call her. Be an adult. Be a responsible adult. And just call her.
Chris. Can you hear me, Chris?
Oh, I can hear you.
Because all I'm hearing is anger and attitude from you. What I'm trying
And you should, Seth. You should. Because what you're doing is bullshit, and you know it.
Okay, stop.
Okay,
People are
alright,
talking
enough.
over each other.
Enough.
Seth, go, and then Chris, go. Please, Seth, and then Chris. Thank you.
Chris, a unified front squashes rumors together. That's all I am stating.
Okay, Chris.
This is a rumor floating around, and I would like us to squash it.
Yeah, I think that is a great rumor to try to squash. That one's on Facebook, and the rumor is actually that about your mom, her car being parked at like Worsham's and him getting
Okay,
in.
so here's the answer. The final answer to this.
It's not just an online rumor, because people have driven up to me and personally spoken about this.
Okay,
That's right.
ladies and gentlemen, can I make the statement?
I wish
This is very simple. This conversation has nothing to do on social media. You want to have this conversation, Seth? You call me, you get Heather, you get Chloe on the phone.
that's
Hell,
fine.
I'll do you one better, and
Right.
I will get Bobby and Carter on the phone, and we'll all sit down and have this little fucking powwow.
We're not going to.
Did you hear how he said, my mother was not with Sebastian on Sunday? Boom, right there. Okay. Seth is talking, and I'm going to go back to it so we can listen to it again. Seth is talking about the rumor that CP's parents have taken Sebastian somewhere like to a boot camp, and CP's debunking it, and he says, my mom wasn't with Sebastian on Sunday. Well, boom, right there. Stop. Sunday, Sebastian went missing apparently between midnight and 6 a.m. Monday the 26th. Why would who was with Sebastian on Sunday be relevant to who took him, how he went missing? I think that is an admission that it began on Sunday, that it happened on Sunday. And I also think, in my opinion, it's an admission that someone who was spending time with them on Sunday, Sebastian, is someone who took Sebastian. Let's listen to it again. It might take me a second to get back to it.
With me and Katie, and that didn't happen. But this goes right back to, here's the thing. If you're saying that because he didn't want to go live with his dad, he potentially ran away,
Them to do all
our days fluctuate. That's the same statement law enforcement has made. That's the same statement I'm going to tell you
So it
every
is a
single day in and
possibility
day
that
out.
Katie gave my son to your mother and father. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that.
Say it one more time.
Do you not want to say that?
What Seth says there, and it's hard to hear, is that Katie gave my son to your son and mother.
But well, we can move on. So
No. I want to hear it.
There's a rumor out there, Chris,
That
that your mom and your dad have Sebastian. It's been brought up to me.
Seth, you know darn good and well, you got a question about my
I'm just
mother.
asking.
You pick up the
Did they
phone
take you
and
somewhere
you call.
to like a boot camp or anything like that? And Katie just thought I wouldn't accept it.
I don't think
Hold
Seth
on.
is being accusatory. I think he's just trying to clear up a bunch of BS that's been online.
Right, and I'm trying, and I'm telling you, if he's had this suspicion, he's got my mother's phone number. He can pick up the phone and call her. She is not afraid to
No,
answer any
Chris, I'm
questions.
asking you. I don't want to talk to your mom. I want to talk to you, and I want to talk to Katie.
Well, it's real simple,
I'm just
Seth.
asking to put it to the rest.
You have seen the video footage of Seth
haven't.
on Sunday. Don't tell me you hadn't. I know you have. You sat in the room
No, I
with
haven't.
all the agents.
No, they didn't show me the video footage, buddy.
So you didn't see, you weren't sitting in a room
Wait a
with
minute.
law enforcement, the district attorney, when they showed you a video, when you wanted proof of life, saying that you hadn't seen proof since Friday.
That
When
was
you've been at my house the first 3 damn days.
Sunday, buddy.
Chris, let Seth speak. Go ahead, Seth.
Chris, they showed me video proof of him coming out of Texas Roadhouse on Sunday.
On a Sunday night. You damn right.
Just, Chris,
Seth, I got a problem with you sitting here making these accusations. Because if you got a problem with them, guess what?
Let's squash it.
I think we're just trying to talk things out, and I don't even know if this should be public, honestly.
Same.
Okay, here's all the public knowledge you need on this deal. Law enforcement has talked to my parents, my whole family. Once again, the statement is true, what law enforcement says. Just because you hear a rumor doesn't make it true.
Chris,
I
what
don't think he said it was true. I think he's just trying to clarify.
He said
That's not clarifying. No, stop sitting here trying to defend his actions. Stop.
Okay.
The fact is, Chris, is I'm trying to squash the rumor. We're both here squashing the rumor.
Seth, there is no rumor. You know my parents were not with Katie on Sunday.
So, why would not being with her on Sunday at the family outing mean they have nothing to do with Sebastian going missing? That doesn't make sense to me. Because I believe he's saying that, in my opinion, he's slipped, because that's giving us a little nugget of the truth there that, in my opinion, it's someone who spent time with Sebastian and Katie on Sunday. It happened Sunday. Sunday is so relevant. Sunday is so relevant that he is saying none of, my parents weren't with them on Sunday. My parents weren't there with them. Well, supposedly, from what KP has told us, they went home after their big Sunday. They went home and Sebastian took out the trash, and shortly after, a couple hours later, went to bed. Then something occurred. So it would have no relevance to who Sebastian spent time with that day. But CP is telling us, in my opinion, it does have relevance who spent time with CP and KP and Sebastian that day. I'm telling you. Listen to this next one. And that was full credit to Web Sleuths. Oh, I want to say my thank yous real quick. Well, let me say my thank yous in 1 second. Make sure you're all still seeing what I'm seeing. Okay, didn't open for you. Just a second. This also talks about CP saying that it all began on Sunday night. I believe that's the one I'm looking for. Hold on 1 second. It all began Sunday night. Let me make sure that this is the one. I think that is. Okay. No, wrong one. Hold on. Sorry, y'all. I apologize. Let me get back to I apologize. 1 second. Did I just, here we go. Okay. I thought that was the emotion. Oh, okay. Here it is. Okay. Let me get to you. Sorry. Because KP described Sunday as typical, normal. He was in a good mood, actually. However, and this is credit to WSMV4, we hear something very different here. Let's listen.
In Sumner County described to us exclusively how they feel on day 8 of their son's disappearance. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Marius Payton.
And I'm Lauren Lowry. Sebastian Rogers is 15. He was last seen by his parents on February 25th in Hendersonville. Sebastian has autism, and he's gone without his medication this whole time. And since then, authorities have searched by air, by foot, and on horseback.
Helicopters, drones, and dive teams have also been brought in to try to find him. Today, his parents spoke exclusively to our Holly Thompson.
She's live tonight in Sumner County. Holly, I imagine it was quite an emotional interview.
Certainly was. It is hard for any of us to imagine the emotions that this family is going through right now. But we know one thing is certain. They remain positive. They are holding on to hope that their son Sebastian will return home safely.
Can you walk us through what you're thinking right now?
I just want my baby to be okay. I don't know where he's at.
Mom Katie broke down several times in our interview, but says her hope is strong that her son Sebastian will be found safe and return home.
He's going to walk through that door, and this street will be flooded again with family and relatives all waiting to hug and love him. And
Stepdad Chris says it's been an emotional roller coaster that all started Sunday night, February 25th.
Pretty normal. He was playing in his room.
An emotional roller coaster that all started Sunday night, February 25th. The very night that KP describes as normal and typical. So, y'all, I think CP is telling us, the journalist quotes him telling her that it was an emotional roller coaster that all began Sunday night. Seth asks about his mom taking her to, or parents taking him to a boot camp. And CP says, now remember, they went to bed, and between midnight and 6 a.m., Sebastian went missing on the 26th. However, he's saying, but those people who were with, darn well, my parents weren't with KP on Sunday. What does that have anything to do with it? Because everyone who was with KP and Sebastian on Sunday were long gone, went to bed, everyone was in bed, has nothing to do, I thought. But it does, in my opinion. It does. Because he brings it up, and the way he says it lets us know that someone who was with Sebastian that Sunday, or someone's, has something to do with it. Because his parents don't, because they weren't there. That's how I take that. What's your take? And then he tells the journalist, hi, Brianna's World. Hi, Amy O24. Hi, Texas Plain Jane. Hi, Tracy. Then he tells the journalist it all emotional roller coaster that all began Sunday night. Sunday night. Hi, Passion Flower. So I believe it was and now, so if it has to be people who were there, according to CP, who are responsible for doing something to Sebastian, people who were with KP and Sebastian on Sunday, because that's what he's saying. My parents weren't, so, they don't have anything to do with it. In that interview that we listened to with the PI trying to get information, CP said he wasn't going to give names, but he ended up giving names, that his sister Cassie was there, his sister Melissa, KP, Sebastian, and children. Okay, that's what we know so far. Sunday night. So I think that's why KP, she shows us, she takes it even further. He tells us, well, it's not my parents. They weren't even with them on Sunday. Irrelevant. Everyone who was with him was already long gone, in bed, sleeping, as was allegedly Sebastian and KP. And the emotional roller coaster, he's quoted saying to a journalist, began Sunday night. CP has told us, and KP has showed us. We're going to get into how she showed us in just a minute. But I want to say thank yous, because I did not get a chance to say thank yous for our wonderful live with our guest from Oregon. And I want to make sure that I say thank you, because you all are amazing. And I always appreciate what you do. And it is never expected, but always appreciated. A big thank you for our superhero, Jen in Georgia, and Gypsy, Sassy T, It's Me Jen, Donna Bellina, Kathy Smith, Bliss Blessings, Busy Bee Crochet, and Governor Pincus. Thank you so very much for being superheroes. And our gift givers. I want to thank Bliss Bell Blessings, Raymond Thomas, Pamela Hale, Holly W, all the names are in lights, and thank you so much for your support and for gifting memberships to others. So appreciate it. Truly, truly appreciate all of you. And look for in our next show, I'm going to have a special slide up for those who gifted raffle items for our beautiful Mother's Day show and for our longest members. So thank you all for your support. Let me thank those of you I know. You are working towards the goal. Thank you. Sorry I haven't acknowledged you. Holly S., thank you so much for your 99-cent donation and your goal donation towards our goal of Peter Hyatt's analysis. We are very lucky to have Peter Hyatt, rest in peace, shares so much on this case and many others. Thank you so much, Holly S., for helping us reach our goal. Jen in Georgia, thank you so much. Just caught that. Thank you so much for helping us reach our goal. Elizabeth, thank you so very much. You're all so generous, and I will call you out. Thank you so much for being a member for 4 months. And Justice for renewing your membership. Thank you all. I truly appreciate you. Hi, Merge. How are you? Hi, Mama Dukes, New York. Hello, hello. So Chris told us, my parents couldn't have anything to do with this, Seth. And this is my opinion, entertainment purposes only. My parents couldn't have anything to do with this, Seth, because they were not with KP and Sebastian on Sunday. So can I infer, and I do, that someone or people with him on Sunday had something to do with him disappearing, in my opinion. I take it that way. Then when I hear a journalist quote him as saying the emotional roller coaster began Sunday night, when KP says it's typical and normal, why would it begin Sunday night if everything was normal and you woke up 6 a.m. Monday morning and found him missing? That wouldn't be an emotional roller coaster if everything's normal and typical. I'm telling you, Sebastian went missing on Sunday. Let's look at some things. I want to see what y'all think about this. What do y'all think? Yeah, CP tries to punk Seth, in your opinion. This was way early, in my opinion. CP is a bully. I wish they could just talk. She said it's BS. Seth can't just talk to Katie. I agree. I think a lot of this would have gone in a different way if there wasn't a middle person. Yeah, he says so. What he says goes, and in our opinion, he wants us to listen. Right? Very angry, right, Coco Pete? Very angry, very defensive, in our opinion. Hello, Michelle. He does talk to Seth like, you understand, you're not going to do this. You're going to, I agree with that statement. He does. He's very bossy. Imagine being a child who he's overpowers. In my honest opinion, I very much doubt it. You doubt that it, oh, are you answering this one? I'm sorry. Why would Seth want to speak with Mama Socks when KP won't speak with him, right? Like he's going to call the in-laws. He's just trying to get answers, right? Pay attention to CP's angriest responses. That's a clue, in my opinion. Absolutely. It deflects from what he doesn't want discussed. His truck, allegedly, right? Don't talk about my truck. I still think something's odd about the Brinks van because, that was a huge deflection, in my opinion. He went through that front door. Remember, they haven't mentioned the garage. The garage is not in the narrative. It has to be that front door. He even, during the interview that we went over last week, left out completely that there was even a man door in the garage. He mentions 2 doors to the house, 1 keyed, 1 coded. There's 3, 2 coded, 1 keyed. So the garage is being avoided in the narrative. KP looks everywhere in the house, around, inside, under, you name it. Every closet, other side of the bed, the kitchen, the bathroom, and jumps in the car. She skips the garage. I think it's important. I do. I think it's important. And he says, and if we want to go into this, I'll just bring in Bobby and Carter. Well, Bobby is Bobby Sims, is that his last name, Sims? All of a sudden, it just didn't come to me, from TBI, the lead detective, and Carter is Brandon Carter, the lead detective from Sumner County. First name basis with Bobby and Carter, to where he'll just bring them in here and we'll have a little powwow. But I bet he couldn't say that right now, in my opinion, because they are not having powwows with him, as far as I know. As far as I know. Okay. Thank you so much. I will call you out. Very sweet. Oh, look at that cute pup. Thank you for the super sticker. Thank you, Susan Furman, for the super sticker. We are working ourselves to the goal, and I am going to keep going. Oh, we got another one here. I'm going to keep going. Thank you so much, Holly S. You sweetie. I appreciate you. All of you. I'm going to keep going. You are all very sweet. Let me keep going. I want us to talk about how KP showed us. Well, the first thing, in my opinion, KP, the way she showed us it was Sunday, was she started the narrative on Sunday. She starts the narrative Sunday morning.
In today's video, I interview the mother and stepfather of Sebastian Rogers, a 15-year-old who vanished from Hendersonville, Tennessee on February 26th of 2024. He vanished and hasn't been seen since.
Full credit
Although he
to
doesn't
Chronicles
like
of
to be
Olivia.
dirty, it's kind of funny because he also doesn't have awareness, because if you look, he's got chocolate milk on his face because he didn't wipe it off at breakfast. It's funny like that.
Can you recap the overall story of Sebastian's disappearance? Kind of walk through that day.
Sunday, the day before he went missing, we got up and, fun fact, I made breakfast that morning. We had a good time.
See, she starts the morning before.
He talked to family on the phone during breakfast to brag. We went and picked up our niece. I got a call and asked if I could go and pick her up, and I did. And so we went and did that. We went to BJ's. Had a good time there. He ate a colossal popcorn. Came home to put groceries away because we bought snacks because, he's 15 and snacks. We went to the bowling alley. And then from there, we went to dinner. Came home. He took out the trash because that's his chore. He takes the can to the end of the driveway. About 9 o'clock, told him to go to bed. And he's come out of his room where he was playing. And he said, "All right, good night, Mama. Good night, puppies. I love you." And went to bed. He was doing something in his room because about an hour later I heard some noise and I was like, "I don't care what you're doing in there, but go to sleep." And about midnight I got up and I went to bed. And 6 o'clock I went to wake him up for school Monday morning. And that's when he wasn't here.
She begins Sunday morning, which is very strange. What happened when your son went missing? I can see beginning with, we went to dinner and got home. He played a little bit, got in his jammies and went to bed, and that's the last time I saw him. I could get there. But starting at making spaghetti pancakes the night before tells me that that's relevant to what happened that morning, that afternoon, that gathering, that family gathering, and CP's words at Web Sleuths. My parents have nothing to do with this. They weren't there on Sunday with KP. Well, obviously, in my opinion, those that were there, it was some sort of a plan, a part of a plan, in my opinion. I am not accusing anyone, but his words lead me to believe that. And then KP starts with Sunday morning. Sunday morning shouldn't have anything to do with it. She should be starting at dinner, in my opinion. She starts on Sunday because Sunday is when it went down, I believe. They waited Monday morning till the trash truck left the neighborhood, in my opinion, which is why that 30 minutes from 6 to 6:33 when dispatch, we heard it on dispatch, there's that gap. There's other gaps in the narrative. The narrative changes. We had a 3-hour phone call Sunday night. That phone call went, originally we heard from 9 to 12, then CP clarified it had been vetted by all law enforcement agencies and logged, and it was honestly from about 9:44 to midnight. Well, KP in Dateline tells us she went to bed at 11 p.m. So now the phone calls from 9:44 to 11. It keeps changing. Bedtime keeps sliding. Her last sentence to Sebastian has been added to now, dude, time to get up. I find that comment very alarming because she's gone from her sweet pet name, Bubba, to dude. Very distant, generalized term, dude. But Sunday's relevant because they made it relevant. I think it's very telling. I think, and we're going to get to the Texas Roadhouse footage coming up here, it's odd. I think it's telling. I know law enforcement has said there's nothing in it, but I can't get past it. I know CP allegedly said he received the pictures that she took. I need a little bit more than that. It's weird. It's odd, in my opinion. One statement when Green Hoodie came out, and I know Green Hoodie's been debunked by law enforcement, but Green Hoodie was standing in between the cars, right next to KP's car when she came out in the dark at Texas Roadhouse, later claiming she had a stalker. Well, if you had a stalker, would you walk directly up to your car when a stranger is standing next to it? No, you wouldn't, in my opinion. If you had a stalker, would you mention that there was a silhouette in the window and it was the night your son went missing, and that it concerns you someone took your son out of the home, or that your son was the silhouette possibly and met up with someone? Yes, you would, in my opinion, but she hasn't. If Sunday was not relevant, would she hide the fact that she stopped at her friend Dara's house with Sebastian over the weekend? And I believe it was Sunday. No, you wouldn't hide it. Allegedly, well, when Seth got there, Lori was there on Monday, her bestie. Okay, why has that never been mentioned by KP in the narrative? My friend was in town. Because things that are being hidden revolve around Sunday, in my opinion. I think, and I hate to say this, I think Sunday's activity, someone else in the chat put it in a few months ago and it really hit me. It was like a going away party. But the only one who didn't know it was a going away party was allegedly Sebastian. So CP tells us emotional roller coaster began Sunday night, and Show Poodle says CP allegedly wasn't there. So the roller coaster for him would not have started until KP called him Monday morning. In my opinion. Yes, exactly. Exactly. And why is it relevant to Sebastian going missing after he got home that night and went to bed as to who spent time with him on Sunday? Because it is, in my opinion, because CP tells us it is, in my opinion. And KP shows us by taking the narrative of what happened to Sebastian and starting with Sunday morning, because in her mind, it needs to be there. Because Sunday's important. let's keep going. Thank you so much for being here for Sebastian. We're not going to give up on Sebastian. I bet the PFs are loving that we're talking about Lily and Jack Sullivan, but we haven't forgotten about Sebastian, and we won't. Thank you, Jay. You are very welcome. You know, I was just saying that with one of my friends earlier on the phone, that I bet they're just thrilled right now that that's case is going on too, right? Because so many are covering that case, but covering that case doesn't mean we forget Sebastian, right? We keep going for Sebastian, and thank you so much for that sweet donation. Thank you all. We're going to keep going. It's just the little things when you go back and you notice. I notice something almost every time I do it. Oops, sorry. And then we have our footage. I want us to watch it. I know we've seen it so many times, but let's watch. I have two different pieces of footage. This footage is when they are already in the Roadhouse. Sorry, paused it. See what's odd to you. This is Sunday. The last time Sebastian Rogers was seen. Mom kind of tosses the menu. That in itself is odd to me. She has a very different style, I think, in my opinion. He's so cute. Thank you, Maj. You're doing a great job. Question is, did he make it home after this? I have always thought yes. I have always thought yes. I know many of you do not. And that's okay, because none of us know, right? For sure. Well, maybe one person does, right? Or two, or a few. KP looking around. And someone said, well, maybe she's looking for her waitress for her check. But you know what? She pays her check up with the device on the table. I'm pretty sure. Hi, Little Red. Thank you, Jacqueline. I know, I agree. I'm so glad you are keeping Sebastian's case alive. Thank you. In my opinion, this is very telling as to Sunday night. Look at the exchange. Her hand's up right now. She doesn't look happy. She's got her kind of neck extended. He's paying attention. She's using her, look at, like she's kind of making points with her hand, in my opinion. Look at, and then she sits back like she's made her point, in my opinion. This is just my perspective on what I'm seeing. Now Sebastian starts getting nervous, biting his nails. And if you had a stalker, would you approach a stranger standing near the door of your car? Or would you go back under the lights? Because that was one of the things she said, is that she had a stalker. SF said for her. Maj, you do such a beautiful job. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate what you all do for the channel. And there they go. Sorry, you all, if you hear my phone going off. I had a relative pass away, my mom's sister. Okay. So, I'm telling you, in my opinion, that screams something happened Sunday night. Wait, here's the other one. Okay. Let's go to this one. This one is longer. This is 6 minutes of real-time footage from Texas Roadhouse. This footage has been slowed down. And I know we've seen this so many times, but I'm telling you, there's something here. So there he is looking down where we just left off, in my opinion, because Katie starts picking at her bread. I think she's made her point there. But I do believe in that exchange where her hands are going like that and stuff right there, that she made her point. She was making a point. That's my perspective of what I see. And she wasn't real happy when they got there, the way she tossed the menu. And there he is biting his nails. In response, he's a little nervous, in my opinion. Which picture, Holly? Yes. BJ's does not have a colossal popcorn. It has a, I called colossal pretzel and a large popcorn. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Miss Keto Bite. Down here in Tennessee, I used to own a restaurant and people would tell me they've been bragging on our food all over the country. So bragging is a common phrase here. Thank you for sharing that. That's why all of this on Sunday. Why not some events on Saturday? Overstimulating, right? And there was one interview where she said he tends, if he's overstimulated, you know, she said that it affects him. I remember hearing that. So why would you do that? Hi, CG and Mike. Hi, sped teacher. I don't know why because you know why sped teacher, in my opinion, because he's the keeper of the narrative. The narrative is very important to him. So much so, remember, that he will explode over it, over billboards and narrative and his don't say this and don't say that. And the cars coming and going there, certain cars that we see often in this case, in my opinion, such as a white pickup. Remember, KP allegedly stopped at a BP possibly on the way home. And I'm glad that hindsight brought that out because she's my second source for that because I did have a first source on that, which is why I hadn't brought it. I kind of murmured it once out to you guys a couple times, but maybe once or twice, but didn't really hit on it. Why wouldn't that be mentioned? And that's concerning too, because there's two cars that are quite similar, hers and her mother-in-law's, the Infinities. And Nancy Grace kept saying, so your Infinity SUV was in the garage. Your Infinity SUV was in the garage. And remember, when we went back over that last week or the week before, I said, it makes me wonder, what is she saying? It wasn't her Infinity or that the Infinity wasn't in the garage? But she said, your Infinity was in the garage and asked her a couple of times. So I wonder, was there a car switcheroo? And I'll go back to Web Sleuths, by the way, where they start talking about Warsham's too. I'm going to go back to that. I just want you to look at some of this Sunday night stuff. Because we ended where they're about to start talking about Warsham's. And then Pat Brown, profiler, has her take on this case. She believes it was Sunday, but she also believes CP was in town and took Sebastian allegedly with him on his way back to Memphis. Oh, sorry, guys. Sorry about that. Thank you, Lisa. Sumner County has not showed any results in over a year, in my opinion. I agree with you. I agree. I'm working on a letter, and I'm going to share it with you all. Thank you, Tracy, and thank you, Lisa B. always, for that super sticker. I appreciate you. We are Sebastian's Army. Thank you so much. Oh, what a lovely picture. Tracy, thank you so much for your super sticker. That's a really pretty picture. Thank you. Very generous, thoughtful. Mama's World, thank you. CP thinks he's the king of the jungle. Ha ha, not. Yes, he does. He has what I call Napoleon effect, aka short man syndrome. And that's just my opinion, where they kind of act a little bit tougher to counteract for lack of size. Just my opinion. The Napoleon effect. Sunday night, does this look like a normal, typical night? And I heard CP say in one of his interviews that he looked at the footage and he saw the footage and Sebastian was happy and laughing. That's not what I see here. I don't see a child happy and laughing and having a good time. Do you? I saw a hungry child, a nervous child, a confused child out by the cars, not understanding why he wasn't being let in, why he was waiting. And remember, we were told in the early days that he had his favorite meal, salmon and asparagus. He's not eating salmon and asparagus here. Why would you say that? I did those little things, but Sunday's important. Why is the trash chore mentioned so many times? Is it mentioned to try and prove, in my opinion, that Sebastian was home? Or in my opinion, KP distancing herself from having anything to do with taking the trash out, putting anything in the trash? I don't know. Yeah, the script was written. Great one, Scotty Dahati. That's the way the script was written, in my opinion. Start with Sunday morning, try to throw people off. Good thinking. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hi, twins from Michigan. Yeah, Texas Road. Well, and that's such a great point, Sped Teacher. We see here, KP's been she's on her phone a lot. The interaction between them when it is occurring, she's got to look at her hand gestures going and stuff, and the tossing of the menu. It doesn't seem like it's a very, like they're interacting, right? And then we know from the dialogue, her narrative, that when they got home, he took out the trash and went to his room and played. So it's not like they were watching a show together, not like they were playing a game of Uno or anything like that. And it could be they were tired, yes, but no interaction, no plopping on the couch together watching a Sunday night show. No mention of going over the homework or getting the backpack together. None of it. And this is just a really weird exchange. But if you haven't listened to Pat, hi, Caitlin. If you have not listened to Pat Brown, criminal profiler, very famous criminal profiler here on YouTube, we're going to listen to her, and she's got an interesting take on it, and she's funny. It's about 20 minutes long, and we're going to listen to her. We listened to it once, boy, way back when she first put it out, and she's got an interesting take on it, and it's about Sunday night, because the analysts go to Sunday night. Peter Hyatt, he's wonderful. He believes something occurred Sunday night, and he believes it has to do with CP, whether he was home or on the phone, and punishment, but that it was Sunday night. So you tell me, someone who's 100, that it's Monday morning, and I'm not saying they're full of it. I would just love to know where they come from on that they can be 100 on that, because it can't be. I believe the trash truck leaving the neighborhood was the delay in the 30 minutes of the narrative. She started at 6 a.m., but didn't realize dispatch would be unleashed, revealed to illuminate that it was 6:33 after the trash truck left the neighborhood. I just think there's a lot of really strange stuff. The flashlights and the 3 a.m. car. That was before the narrative begins. I believe when the narrative begins at 6 a.m., that is merely the plan, if that makes sense. The narrative beginning at 6 a.m. is the plan is already over. Everything's been done. And although they're trying to communicate that that's where it begins, that's where the cover-up begins, in my opinion. The vanishing happened sometime between leaving the Texas Roadhouse and 3 a.m. Okay? That's the vanishing. The cover-up, in my opinion, began at 6 a.m. Yeah, that bothers me so much. Why in the world, if you know CPS has shown up at your home numerous times because your husband is abusive to your child, allegedly, that you would, when he isn't around, you would put him in the position of looking at food and saying, see, he's eating all his meal. Why would you give him power when he's away, instead of taking that anxiety out of your child's life while he is away? It's terrible, in my opinion. Hi, Jen. Hey, Prayer Warrior. Holly S. Thank you again. Hi, YouTuber. Thanking my mods right now. Really appreciate y'all being here. You're just amazing. You keep things flowing out there. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Hi, YouTuber, all of you. Mini Panthers, hello. Oh, they don't have a pay at the table. I thought I saw her pay at the table. Thank you for clarifying for me, Mini Panthers. Thank you. Very strange. Hi, Rusty Pipes. This is Sunday. Does he look like he's having a great time, good time, laughing? No. Does it look like something's weird, odd about the lack of interaction? If you're going to, the lack of interaction, when there is interaction, the hand gestures, Sebastian looking down, starting to bite his nails, approaching a person who's standing between your car, who's been waiting there for 2 minutes. You later claim you have a stalker. Would you approach someone, stranger, standing near your car? Or would you wait, go under the lights, wait for them to come forward and get the heck out of there? The only reason I'd approach is knowing they're waiting for me to talk, you know? I'm not going to go approach a stranger if I'm thinking I have a stalker. I think she approached because she knew who it was, in my opinion. And as Raymond has pointed out, and several people, there's someone in that next vehicle. And I have not yet gotten that large screenshot, but I will do that for you to show you that there is someone there. And green hoodie, if you look at it on a larger screen, at least when I do, green hoodie puts their arm on the top of the car too and taps it. Very strange. Very, very strange. And then we have the yellow jacket, you know, person. Now they're leaving. And this is, they leave about 6:25 p.m. So in about a minute and a half, they leave. And it's interesting that we have this view. Could you be 100? See the car next to KP's. Could you be 100 that, think about this, that's, it's a thought. Just a thought. Why did KP not get the recording from her dash cam on the way home? CP says, no, that audio is not from your dash cam, and we're not telling what it's from. Could she have been in a different car on the way home? Could the car have been exchanged? Could they have exchanged vehicles? That's why it wasn't her dash cam she got the audio on. It was her phone. Because she said in that interview with this private eye that everything was caught on her Life 60, which would be if her phone was with her. And that the audio was caught with her dash cam and video. Well, and then CP says, no, it wasn't a dash cam, but we're not going to tell you what it was. Well, could she have been in the car? Here he comes out. And now he has to wait because the green hoodie's standing there and KP's standing there. And Sebastian is left in short sleeves while everyone else has jackets and long hoodies on. See this? Waiting to get into his vehicle. What is so important that you're making your child, you don't unlock the door and let your child in? So why was the audio and proof, according to CP, not on the dash cam? Were they in a different car? So she used her phone. That's my thought. That's my theory. That's my speculation. Otherwise, the dash cam would have caught it. Just my thought, just my theory, just my speculation. Maybe CP wanted him full for the drive, in my opinion. Oh, Noelle. That is a great theory. I hadn't heard that one. Thank you so much. My bad, sorry. Hey, I don't know what you're saying my bad for. I think that's a really good theory. Thank you for that. Thank you. Ouch. Sorry. When they drive away, we are going to get to our next. I believe it's Pat Brown. We have 9 more if you want to reach our goal, friends, and we don't have to if you don't want to do Peter Hyatt. I'm just reminding you if you do, we have 9 more, any level super chat, and we will do some bonus time with Peter Hyatt. Rest in peace. Okay, let me get to our slides here. We're almost finished. And I really want you to hear Pat Brown. She is a statement analyst. She's been on, she's famous. She's been on, I believe, well, there they go. There they go. Look at the car next to it. Look how similar they look. As a matter of fact, the one still parked looks a little bit more blue, and this one looks a little bit more gray. Okay. Sunday night. So my question is this. Before we get to Pat Brown, CP tells us, he tells us, my parents were not with them on Sunday. Well, anyone who was with them on Sunday was already home, long gone, in bed, said their goodbyes, hours before allegedly Sebastian went missing. So is CP telling us that who was with Sebastian on Sunday has something to do with Sebastian disappearing? The plan. And he's making sure to point out, and my parents weren't there, so it couldn't be them. And why Sunday? When allegedly it all began at 6 a.m. Monday morning, right? That's what it's supposed to be. Sunday was just supposed to be a fun, normal, they do it all the time, mother-son bonding, and the family joined in. Wait, this is a great point. CP must have paid with the device because when they got up, the device was turned towards CP, in my opinion. You mean KP? Yeah, hold on one second. That's a great point. Let me just real quick look at something. I thought I had looked it up before. Okay. Yes, you do have Roadhouse Pay. I thought so. I thought I'd done it. It says Texas Roadhouse has implemented a system called Roadhouse Pay that allows guests to pay at the table using the device. I thought she paid there because I was like, well, she wouldn't be looking. So yes. Thank you for that. I'm glad we looked that up. Okay, 3 a.m. car makes it happen before 6 a.m. Monday, in my opinion. Stopping allegedly at the BP and leaving it out of the narrative. That was Sunday. Makes it important, makes it fishy, makes it contribute, in my opinion. Not mentioning the stop to friend Dara's house. Again, leaving it out, omitting it is deception, especially when they need every detail of what you've done. It makes it relevant, in my opinion, and none of that occurred on Monday. The friend Laura visiting. She was already there before Seth got there. She was in town. Again, omitted and happened before Sunday, the arrival. Flashlights happened before Monday. I'm sorry, Monday I meant. Happened before Monday morning at 6 a.m. CP telling us it is someone who was with Sebastian, in my opinion, on Sunday. Why would it matter who was with Sebastian on Sunday? Why would that be pertinent when Monday morning at 6 a.m. allegedly is the time? Because CP told us, in my opinion, it is important. An emotional roller coaster began on Sunday evening. And it mattered that his parents weren't there, so they have nothing to do with Sebastian going missing Monday morning. CP told us, KP showed us by starting Sunday morning with spaghetti pancakes. She took the narrative to what happened to spaghetti pancakes because she is naturally going, when someone asks you what happened when your child went missing, you go a little before it, right? We came home from dinner, went to bed, right? But in her head, in my opinion, he went missing before 6 a.m. So she takes the narrative to spaghetti pancakes. Does that make sense, the connection I'm trying to make there? She's looking for someone. I agree. I agree. I agree. Hello, everyone. So did he make it home that night? Did he make it home that night? That's the question. I think he did. Doesn't mean he did. There was a stop at BP. Thank you, Jen and George. I love Peter Hyatt. May he rest in peace. I love him too. And his analyses are amazing. We can learn so much from him. We're very lucky that he was a part of our community. Thank you, Jen, for your super sticker. Totally appreciate you, my dear. Appreciate all of you. Hi, just a girl who loves frogs. Hello, hello. Hello. Well, let's get to Pat Brown, criminal profiler, because she believes it happened on Sunday as well. This is Pat Brown, criminal profiler. She's funny. She's insightful.
To people who would like to understand criminal profiling and crime scene analysis. So please subscribe, like the video, check my playlist, and that's cool. And he has a snake, and I'm a reptile. Idiot feel that he had a bad life going on. I looked originally at this case, just pictures of Sebastian. All right. First of all, I just want to say, when I looked originally at this case, just pictures of Sebastian. You know, I didn't get an immediate feel that he had a bad life going on. It seemed like, well, this picture, for example, there he is with his puppies, and he seems to really loves his puppies. And I think, oh, a family that provides puppies for this child, that's cool. And he has a snake, and I'm a reptile lover. So I'm like, hey, cool, he's got himself, I think this is a ball python. And I think that's really neat. And it's like, okay, so he's got autism, but they're providing for him in a positive way, making his home life happy. Chris Proudfoot says he's a little bit strict about him being on, Sebastian being on social media and getting on the phone and doing things. I'm okay with that. I don't know how strict he is, but I understand that hopefully the two of them as a couple have made these decisions, not just the stepfather, and also Sebastian's father, who is Seth Rogers. Also, hopefully he's in the mix, and he does live close by. So could he have what seems to be a pretty decent home life? It did seem so. Then he disappears. And the couple here, his mother and his stepfather, do not go in front of the media for about a week, which is odd right there. That's a red flag. Because according to them, they think he actually left of his own accord in the middle of the night. And if that happens, generally speaking, most parents would want to be standing out in front of their house with a microphone saying, hey, you got to look for my son. For some freaky reason, he left the house. We don't know why. We think he's out there. Maybe he went into the woods. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know. I don't even understand it, but here's who he is. This is our son. This is how he's 15. He's autistic. Here's some of his behaviors. Here's what he likes. Here's what he doesn't like. Here's what he looks like. I would put out everything I could so people could search for my child. And I put out immediately to my child, Sebastian, if you're out there, Sebastian, we love you. Come home. Call us. Call the police. 911. Ask for help. Whatever you can do. Please, we want you home. That should have been done right away, and it wasn't. And when they finally did do an interview, the media called it breaking the silence. Why would they be silent? That makes no sense to me. So they finally did this interview, and it was one of those interviews which annoys me from the media. They're not asking, basically how to find Sebastian. They're starting to go on the, how are you feeling? Blah, blah, blah. How is it for you? It's like this emotional thing because they want to do the human interest side of things rather than find this child who's missing, which is very annoying to me. So I'm going to analyze things from this video now. And I want to tell you what kind of analysis I do as far as statement analysis goes. There is a person out here who I respect highly. It is Peter Hyatt. I've known Peter for years. He's got a couple videos on the case. I'm going to link them below. He does what I consider full statement analysis. That is a specialty of Peter. So if you want to get deeply into all the different nuances of statement analysis, and in this case as well, do check out what Peter has to say. Peter Hyatt's just the best at this. We've agreed on so many cases over the years. He's not one who's shy to say what he comes up with. He doesn't do things because they're popular. He simply says what he sees, and I respect him for being very professional in doing that.
That's the statement analyst we're going to watch later during bonus time if you guys want to. He's wonderful.
I do not do that kind of statement analysis. What I do is what I call red flag statement analysis. If I've been working with the police department and I've analyzed interviews, what I'm pointing out are things that jump out at me. So not every single word, but things that to me are like, okay, this is telling me something. Did you guys see this? Did you notice that? So I'm not looking for every issue of deception or what words mean, but things that stand out, because I find that very useful for law enforcement. Sometimes they just don't have a lot of time. So if you can show them the big things, it's useful. So in this case, what did I see right up front? Okay, I'm going to show you a couple videos, which I did with my phone because I don't know how to do these any fancy way. Watch this first video, okay?
First, just express, I can't even imagine as a parent what you two are going through. How would you describe the situation right now? How are you coping?
Okay, that bothered me right there. She's trying to figure out how she's going to say she's coping. Then she goes, she turns to her husband, like, but in a way that she'll semi-laughter. Now, people are going to say this is nervousness, but why does she need to do that? Why does she need to look over at him for him to point out to the media how they're feeling?
And one of you had mentioned that in chat just a little bit earlier. And I wanted to bring that up, acknowledge that, because that's been put. Why does she always look to him for, especially like at that weird when the niece, I got a call about the niece, but I do want to bring up this comment. Little Red, I believe that handoff was supposed to go down near the Texas Roadhouse, but was aborted after KP cased the area for cameras and it was moved, hence the texting she was doing at the table. That is a really interesting theory, Scotty Dahadi. Very interesting theory and quite plausible in my opinion. Great thinking. You all think so out of the box and you're still coming up with great theories. Thank you for that, Scotty Dahadi. We're going to continue. Pat Brown, she was a TV correspondent for a while. She's a criminal profiler. She was actually an weather lady as well on the news. Very interesting career. Pat Brown, criminal profiler.
It just was an uncomfortable moment, but that wasn't the big thing for me. The big thing is coming up, and it's in this place where they ask about what their hopes are about Sebastian returning home. Note what the stepfather says, and then notice what the mom says. Check it out.
Oh, first, just express, I can't even imagine as a parent what you two are going through. How would you describe the situation right now? How are you coping? Um,
We're on a constant roller coaster ride of helpless and hopeless and many other emotions all in one, and it's a never-ending roller coaster. It doesn't stop. It won't stop until he walks through the door.
I wouldn't wish this on anyone. Not anyone. I know we're about keeping hope alive. I'm sure that's in there somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
It's gonna
Always.
come home.
He's going to walk through that door. And the street will be flooded again with family and relatives all waiting to hug and love him. And
That boy's gonna have more friends than he knows what to do with when he comes home.
He's going to walk through that door. Did you just burst into laughter when you said that, stepdaddy? That's concerning to me. He doesn't believe that child is ever going to walk through that door. And the belief doesn't seem to come from Seth Rogers. His dad seems to believe that Sebastian may not be alive because of the time going by. And he's angry about it and he's upset about it. But that's not what he seems to be expressing, that he might have died in the woods or he might have been kidnapped and killed. It actually seems to burst into laughter because he knows it's ridiculous that his stepson's ever going to walk through that door again. Why? Because you know he's dead. You absolutely know that this is ludicrous. Mom then goes on this thing where, and he's going to have lots more friends than before. What? This is the important thing, that if he shows up and have more friends, not that he's alive. Very strange behavior from both of them. Even the laughing part, the humor part, when he's missing, when he's absolutely missing and you don't know where he is, that he might be dead, that he might be being tortured someplace. He might be, they've never reached out to him really. They never said, God might, he might be in the woods starving. He might be, oh, please come back. Please, somebody find him. They're not saying any of that. They're talking about him like something that happened in the past. Let me tell you about something that happened with me. And just because I have this memory I have this memory. It's a strong memory. My son, when he was 5 or 6, can't remember now exactly how old he was. My husband and I dropped one of our sons, my son at the time. I'll have to explain this in a minute. We dropped them off at the pastor's house for an overnight. And my husband and I never left our kids overnight before. And we left our daughter, who was 2 years older, at his mother, my mother-in-law's house. So we could have this one overnight at the beach, And so we drove away. And I told my son when we drove away, if you're going to use a bicycle, do not be in the street. You have to stay in the yard. And my son was usually fairly obedient about these things. So we drove away comfortable, and we were over at the beach. And my husband, we stupidly forgot to leave our. We didn't. The cell phones didn't exist at that time, and so we didn't leave where we could be found at this bed and breakfast. But we were just thinking it was overnight, and I guess it just never occurred to us, whatever stupid reasons. And so somewhere about 10 o'clock at night, was it 10 o'clock at night? No, I kept trying to remember when it was. I don't remember. Maybe it was during the day. Actually, I remember daylight. So maybe it was early morning that my husband called his mother to check on our daughter because she had a little cold. And all of a sudden, he didn't come back very quickly. And I went to look for him. He was like sitting on the stairs, all hunched over, all freaked out. And I'm like, "What's wrong? Is our daughter sick? What's wrong?" And he's like, "No, it's our son." And I'm like, "What?" And I'm thinking right then, if he called his mother and word about our son.
Y'all, I just wanted to address something that's being said. My narrative's my narrative. I'm going on my narrative based on critical thinking and analysis and perspective. I'm not anyone else or any other creators. So let's all keep it kind in the chats, please. Hi, Marcy from Australia. Good to see you. Hi, Lana Lee. Okay. We are listening to Pat Brown, criminal profiler. Very interesting. She's funny. She's a great take on, thank you, Whispering Winds, for your sweet donation. Great take on Sebastian Rogers, criminal profiler, lots of experience. And she is analyzing Sebastian Rogers' case.
Something happened to our son. How did she even know? Because the pastor didn't know his mother. It turned out that my son had a bicycle accident at the yard in the driveway. He didn't know how to use the brakes, and he put his foot down for a foot brake, and it was a hand brake, and he didn't stop, and he hit a little tree, and he flew off the bicycle, and he smashed into a sandbox which had been built the week before and ripped his whole face open. Went into a coma. They were going to medevac him out. He luckily woke up from the coma, went down to Children's Hospital. It was a mess. And so the pastor didn't know where we were, so they sent people to our house, and I had renters. I let them in. They went through our Rolodex. They found my father's number. They found my mother-in-law's number. So everybody was called. My father ended up at the hospital, and it was a nightmare. And by the time we were on the road, which is a 3-hour trip back, I remember that trip back, and this is why I want to bring this up. My son, I did not know whether he was going to live or die. I did not know. That was the quietest 3 hours I've ever experienced. We had nothing to say to each other. We were stunned. We were frightened. There was no joking going on. We never turned to each other and said, well, when we get to the hospital, I'm sure he's going to be just laughing. We had no idea what was wrong with our son, when we got to the hospital, whether we were going to be given the news that he had passed away. We didn't know. There was no funny in that. There was no humor in that. Luckily, we got to the hospital. He was alive. He was. And he came home eventually, after a while. He came home, and he had to go back 2 weeks later they had to wait for the swelling to go down for surgery. You can see my son Dave on the left here. His eye socket was crushed, and he couldn't talk because his jaw was actually stuck. And the reason I have this picture is because the social worker on the right showed up with our new son, Jeremy, who's in the middle. And when he showed up, I did make a joke. I said, well, look what we do to the kids in our house. That was a joke. But my son was alive at that point. Yes, his face was all messed up, but he was alive. I knew he was going to go for surgery. I knew that was going to be frightening. And during the surgery, I had no jokes either. I just held this little bear. I held this little bear, and I sat in the bathroom. I remember this. I sat in the bathroom stall because it was a 5-hour surgery, and I was so freaked. And I just sat there with the bear. There was no joking. There's nothing to joke about. When your child is missing, that's not normal behavior. Sorry, it's not normal behavior. So that's a huge red flag to me. Your child is missing, maybe dead or in pain or whatever, because you don't know. And you have jokes to make and laughter, and you burst out laughing at the thought he'd even return home. I have issues with that. Now, it doesn't make you guilty of anything. Maybe you're just weird ass people, but that's not normal. Absolutely not normal. All right.
I agree 100% with what she is saying, because the same thing happened to me. I got a phone call that my son something had occurred to him, happened to him. And his dad and I were in transit to him and had no idea when we got there if he was going to be alive. Because when I got the phone call and I asked if he was alive, she said, hold on, let me check. It was terrifying. I'll never forget the drive. It wasn't joking either. Still to this day, I can put myself in that car and feel it. I'm not smiling. And I will never forget walking into that hospital and seeing about 75 fraternity brothers in black suits. Well, they did that out of honor for one of theirs was hurt. But imagine being a parent thinking are you getting there in time? Or is your child not going to be with? I'm going to see, it still affects me. And when I walked in and I saw all those 50 black suits stand up, I almost hit the ground. So, it isn't laughing if you've been through something, and many of you know that. And I still can't tell the story. You hear me. And we remember everything they're wearing. I remember their suits. So when we come across parents like this who giggle and laugh or don't show emotion, it's not normal. Sorry, you guys. That I don't tell that story, but I remember it like it's embedded in me, and it still makes me cry. Nothing about it will ever make me laugh. Let's keep going. Pat Brown, criminal profiler. I remember waiting for my son's surgery at 6 weeks for pyloric stenosis. That was the loneliest, slightly over 1 hour of my life. We didn't talk either, just watch the clock. Yeah. It's just terrifying to a parent. Terrifying to not know. So I'm sorry. I'm going to continue with Pat Brown, criminal profiler.
So that's the first big red flag I want to talk about. Let's talk about some other things in this story. What else they said. The other thing that stood out to me, well, not something they said, but the father, who is Seth Rogers, that's him. He's actually a police officer. He's a deputy. He also wasn't prominent in the early times when this child disappeared. And interestingly enough, also, normally if you have a good relationship with these two, and your son theoretically has actually left the house on his own accord, like they're claiming, he walked out of the house, you would think the three of them would be before the camera, the three of them together, because you want the community to know that you all believe that your son walked out of that house and you've got to find him. But Seth Rogers, his dad, is not hanging out with these two. As a matter of fact, he was not very public at all. And again, why wasn't he out there saying, find my son? He's walked away. He said, my son wouldn't walk away. I think he's been behind the scenes working like hell to find out what happened to his son. And I think he does mention his son he thinks might be deceased. Why does he say that? Because I think he's looking at these two as having something to do with it. He's a deputy. He understands how things work. And he also is very angry in one of his videos, and he says, he's mine, he's my son, he's mine. And I think he's talking to these two, that whatever happened, he was my son. How dare you? So I find interesting that his dad, his bio dad, is not in work. He's not all snuggly with these two. Why not? Because they should all be on the same page, and it doesn't seem so. So that's another big thing for me. All right, the next thing. How did he disappear out of the house? Mom says, now, stepdad, there's a lot of like very limited information. From what I can gather, and I may be wrong because I can't find much information, he was going away to work in Memphis, where apparently he would go down there and stay for quite a bit of time. I don't know if it was he goes stay for 2 weeks before he came back. They lived in Hendersonville, which is close to Nashville. You can see it's about a 3.5 hour trip. Now, I'm not saying I'm accurate on this, but he was not in town when he supposedly disappeared out of the house. From what I can gather, and it's very, very, very vague, it seemed like he was there the day before he disappeared. And it appears he left approximately, and Now, again, I'm not sure, somewhere around 9 o'clock at night to drive to Memphis. And they chatted while he was going down to Memphis. So he was out of the house and she was alone with her son. She said goodnight to him. He said, good night. Love you, Mom. Love the puppies. And then she dozed off and went to sleep. He's out of town now, supposedly driving to Memphis and in Memphis. At some point in the night, this child who supposedly is happy, has no reason to walk out of the house, gets up in the dark and walks out of the house in bare feet, supposedly with a flashlight. She says when she goes to wake him up for school in the morning, he's just not there. Okay, let me stop there as far as the waking up in the morning and finding him not there. She says, oh, where is he? And she tells a couple different stories, but that she thought maybe he was in the kitchen making some food because he does that. She goes to the kitchen, he's not there. Within 3 minutes, she says, one of her stories, 3 minutes, she's like freaked out. And she calls him and says, I can't find him. He's not in the house. I'm thinking 3 minutes. Okay. I go into my son's bedroom and he's not in bed. I'm like, what the heck? Oh, did he already get up for school? First of all, I'm not panicked. Maybe he got up on his own. He's 15, for God's sakes. I would yell for him, hey, Sebastian. And I think he's in the bathroom. That would be the first place. That would take me about 30, 40 seconds at least. Then I go down to the kitchen and go, Sebastian? Okay, that's another minute gone. Okay, and then I'm going, Sebastian, where are you? I go to, I don't know, the living room, the hallway, family room. I don't know how many places I got in the house. I'd be calling around for him all over the house. What the heck? Sebastian, where are you? That's not going to take me 3 minutes. Then she says eventually on one of the later interviews that she checked the closets. But sometimes she says she talked to him first and then she checked the closets. And then she checked outside. And she also doesn't say that originally. So it's supposedly after she talks to stepdad. Okay. So my kid, I can't find him in the house. I'd be looking in every place I could, but I certainly be opening up the door and going outside going, Sebastian. I'd be screaming his name around the house, thinking, what the heck? Did he go outside? Did he get in where is he? And I'd be running around the house like a lunatic, looking for my son. That takes me more than 3 minutes. 3 minutes from the time I see him in the bed to going, checking the bathrooms, the kitchen, wherever the heck in different places in the house, closets, outside. That's not 3 minutes. It seems like he wasn't there. So I called him and said, he's not here. And then he says, she should check some more. She says she did. She calls the sheriff's department and says he's missing. That's a weird story right there. But then it gets weirder. The claim is they do not have any issue. They didn't think that somebody came into the house and took him or somebody coaxed him out of the house. Nothing. They don't talk about any other reason for him leaving the house other than he decided to walk out of the house in the dark with bare feet, because they say all the shoes are there, and a flashlight. Now, his dad, Seth Rogers, says he don't like being barefoot. He does not like being barefoot and don't buy that story at all. Especially, if you're running off into the woods or something. Bare feet is not the best thing to, do. But then you think flashlight. Why does he need a flashlight? Because he's what? He's in this dark outside. He is going into the woods. He's winding down the street. What the heck? How do you know the flashlight's missing? They never explain the flashlight issue. I don't know where the hell the flashlights are in my house. Half the time I can't figure out if I have a flashlight. And when my kids were growing up, never knew where they were. So, do they know the flashlight was missing because the flashlight always sits next to his bedstand? Or it's always on the kitchen counter? They don't explain this. Why would they know the flashlight's missing? Where was the flashlight to begin with? And so, okay. He goes out without shoes and he takes a flashlight. All right, let's go to my analysis. I don't know when the last time Sebastian was seen, but I can't come up with that information, but it seems like at least nobody saw him after dinner. In other words, he was at home with his stepdad and his mom. Those were the three that were in the home. As far as I can find out, there's no siblings. So the three of them are home alone. At some point, he gets in the vehicle and he starts driving off to Memphis. We don't know if Sebastian was alive before he left for Memphis or not. But I can tell you something. Usually when a child disappears with no shoes and a flashlight disappears as well, to me, it sounds like the child is being carried out of the house in the condition he's in, which is not having shoes on his feet, put in a vehicle. And the reason the flashlight is going with that child is because you're going to need the flashlight to take to when you stop, wherever you stop, and you're going to do whatever you're going to do, you need a flashlight. That's just my experience.
Interesting, because she does feel that you don't have the shoes on because you've carried them outside of the house, and it's during bedtime. So, and her theory is because they were ready for bed, they didn't have their shoes on. Boom. Yes, YouTuber, I agree. I agree. So, hello, everyone. Thank you so much. This is Pat Brown giving now her take on it. Now she believes CP was home. I don't know if she will. Let's just keep listening to her. But he doesn't have shoes, in her opinion, because he was carried out in the state that he was in, which allegedly I'm thinking she's thinking bed or, God forbid, injured, worse. But because you don't have shoes on when you're ready for bed.
So my problem is, let's take a look at the map. If that child did not walk out of the house on his own, I believe he's somewhere between Nashville and Memphis. That's a hell of a long, long journey. He could be anywhere, absolutely anywhere in that long, long drive. I can't say that he didn't walk out of that house on his own to go look in the woods, but nobody's found his body in the woods. The tracker dogs haven't found So my problem is, let's take a look at the map. If that child did not walk out of the house on his own, I believe he's somewhere between Nashville and Memphis. That's a hell of a long, long journey. He could be anywhere, absolutely anywhere in that long, long drive. I can't say that he didn't walk out of that house on his own to go look in the woods, but nobody's found his body in the woods. The tracker dogs haven't found they haven't tracked him into the woods. I don't know if they've had cadaver dogs anyplace, but they should have had them. I strongly believe Seth Rogers, Sebastian's father, does not believe his son is alive, and I believe he's looking at these two because of his behaviors and the way he talks. I think they don't believe Sebastian is alive, but not because they think something happened to him after he left the home. I see no indication that they think anybody else did anything to Sebastian, which is odd. And I don't think they think Sebastian's going to walk through that front door. That to them is ludicrous. So I don't think it's going to be a good ending. I'm not saying these two are guilty of anything. I'm just saying their behaviors are concerning. The way he supposedly disappeared with no shoes and a flashlight is concerning. So, yeah, that's what I think. And I hope I'm wrong. You know, I'm a profiler and I'm doing what I call red flag statement analysis. I hope I'm wrong. I'm hoping this kid, for whatever freaky reasons, did walk out of the house without shoes on his feet and with a flashlight and ended up at some friend's house and has been hiding in a basement. I'm good with being wrong. I love to be wrong because I'd rather have him be alive than me be right. So anyway, those are my thoughts on this case. Again, if you're new to the channel, like and subscribe, and I will probably not talk about this case unless there's some breaking news on it.
Can you play the part where he says it went down Sunday night? I can play you on Web Sleuths where he says, you mean where he is saying about it couldn't be his parents because they weren't with Sebastian on Sunday? Yes, Seth noticed the shoes when he came in, and I think that it was an oversight, that Sebastian was taken out in bare feet, and it was an oversight, the shoes being forgotten. And once Seth noticed that all the shoes were there, it became part of the dialogue. When the narrative changes this many times, to me, it's because the stories are not facts, in my opinion. Totally agree with you. I wonder if I wish she had done another one. I wish she would do another one. Maybe we should reach out to her and ask her to do another one now that the case has gotten where it is. So, because there's so much valuable information. I wanted to show you real quick some questions here. Maybe the Texas Roadhouse photos to CP to show him they were on time to the plan. I've thought of that too. Or to someone else who was in the Texas Roadhouse waiting for them to come out, I thought of. I think I heard either CP or KP mention that the niece was picked up from wherever they went. I think in the private eye audio, KP says apparently they all went to the house and then ended up leaving together to go to the Strike and Spare, I believe it was. And then KP said she and Sebastian left alone and went to this Roadhouse alone. So I think after the Strike and Spare, the niece was taken home by her parent, is what you can allege from my goodness, the constant changing. It's hard to pinpoint anything, but that's my best guess. And just so you all know, the end of my story is happy. My son did make it through. I'm sorry, I couldn't contain myself to finish it. And he's a father now of a beautiful child, and he's a wonderful, wonderful, couldn't be prouder father he is. So I remember my whole world crashing down when my son was 16, and he was STABBED and walking in the ER and seeing 15 people standing over him and cops everywhere. I dropped to the floor. I couldn't move. Oh, Tiff, I feel it. I feel ya. It's just something you can't. That's why it is shocking to see someone laugh. And yes, let's go ahead and go back to where CP says, first of all, the emotional roller coaster began Sunday night. And second of all, that it could not be, he's telling Seth, it couldn't be my parents. They weren't there Sunday, which makes me think Sunday. Oh, okay. You've just put another little reminder in there that to me, Sunday's when it went down. And second of all, is it someone who was with them on Sunday? Is it someone who was with them on Sunday? Let's go back and watch that again from Web Sleuths real quick. Hold on. Sorry, guys. Let me get this pulled up. Sorry.
I think he's just trying to clear up a bunch of BS that's been online.
Right. And I'm trying, and I'm telling you, if he's had this suspicion, he's got my mother's phone number. He can pick up the phone and call her. She is not afraid to answer any
Chris, I'm
questions.
asking you. I don't want to talk to your mom. I want to talk to you, and I want to talk to Katie.
Is that if I had known the conversation,
Asking, working with autistic children, in different capacities. So I do understand they are all different. I do understand that that day may have been very overstimulating for him. So that's why I was asking if that was a normal day for him. And if it wasn't, that just gives me more information that maybe he was very overstimulated that day.
Chris?
All right, so one more time, I'm so sorry.
I was just saying, in my experience with autistic children, obviously they're all different. But if this was not a normal day for Sebastian on Sunday when he went and did all of these things, and it sounds like he was gone from home for a while. If this wasn't a normal day for him, would this have been an overstimulating day for him? Is this something normal? Does he normally go to BJ's and bowling and all of these things on a weekend? Or was this kind of like a special thing? And if it was a special thing, what caused it to be special? Was there an occasion?
If it was a special thing, a mother and a son bonding and just having a good time.
I'm not being ugly at all.
I'm not. I'm making the statement.
Is this a normal day for them on a weekend? For them to do all
our days fluctuate. Monday through Friday, we're a working family, just like everybody else out there. And when the weekend comes, that's when you get a lot of stuff done. You go a lot of places, you do a lot of things. And a lot of times that's where, you go and spend time with your kids and do extra things. Sebastian's not in sports like most kids. So we don't spend ball time at the ballpark. When Seth has Sebastian on the weekends, he goes and does fishing and things like that with Sebastian just as well. Seth works long hours. I work long hours.
And I'm not saying any of that is suspicious at all, Chris. I'm just asking if that was normal. Because if it wasn't normal and he was overstimulated, that could be a reason for him to have ran out of the house.
No.
Okay.
He was not overstimulated.
Okay, so that wasn't one of the possible reasons for him to leave.
Here's what I'll say. Everything is on the table. Nothing has been taken off the table, period. That's the same statement law enforcement has made. That's the same statement I'm going to tell you every single day in and day out.
Gave my son to your mother and father. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that.
Say it one more time.
Do you not want to say that? Well, we can move on. So
No. I want to hear it.
There's a rumor out there, Chris, that your mom and your dad have Sebastian. It's been brought up to me.
Seth, darn good and well, you got a question about my
I'm just asking.
You pick up the
Did
phone.
they take me somewhere to like a boot camp or anything like that, and Katie just thought I wouldn't accept it?
I don't think Seth is being accusatory. I think he's just trying to clear up a bunch of BS that's been online.
Right, and I'm trying, and I'm telling you, if he's had this suspicion, he's got my mother's phone number. He can pick up the phone and call her. She is not afraid to answer any
Chris, I'm
questions.
not saying you. I don't want to talk to your mom. I want to talk to you, and I want to talk to Katie.
Well, it's real simple, Seth.
To put it to the rest.
You have seen the video footage of Seth on Sunday. Don't tell me you hadn't. I know you have. You sat in the room with all the agents.
No, they didn't show me the video footage, buddy.
And so you didn't see, you weren't sitting in a room with law enforcement, the district attorney, when they showed you a video, when you wanted proof of life, saying that you hadn't seen proof since Friday. When you've been at my house the first 3 damn days.
Sunday, buddy.
Chris, let Seth speak. Go ahead, Seth.
Chris, they showed me video proof of him coming out of Texas Roadhouse on Sunday.
On a Sunday night. You damn right.
Just Chris.
Seth, I got a problem with you sitting here making these accusations. Because if you got a problem with them, guess what?
Let's squash it.
I think we're just trying to talk things out. And I don't even know if this should be public, honestly.
Same.
Okay, here's all the public knowledge you need on this deal. Law enforcement has talked to my parents, my whole family. Once again, the statement is true, what law enforcement says. Just because you hear a rumor doesn't make it true.
Chris,
I don't think he said it was true. I think he's just trying to clarify.
He said
That's not clarifying. No, stop. No, stop sitting here trying to defend his actions.
Oh.
Stop.
Okay.
The fact is, Chris, is I'm trying to squash the rumor. We're both here. Squashing the rumor.
Seth, there is no rumor. You know my parents were not with Katie on Sunday.
Why does it matter if they were there on Sunday or not? That little statement there makes me think, because he's defending his parents for having nothing to do with Sebastian's disappearance or putting Sebastian anywhere, but he's saying, you know, they weren't there on Sunday. So is people who were there on Sunday have knowledge, information, part of the plan? I don't know, but it sounds like it. That being there on Sunday affects Sebastian going missing, in my opinion. I would, Michelle, too, like Pat's narrative on the PI. Oh my goodness. Giving ballparks and maybes, and we're not going to tell you this. And we heard a noise was heard sometime after we got on the phone and before we hung up. So now that noise is between 9:45 and 11, according to Dateline, because she went to bed at 11 and the phone call started at around 9:44, which just still puts it in the 10 o'clock time. But I'm telling you, he's saying, the way he says it, my parents weren't even with them on Sunday. Sunday is when the plan began. Sunday is when Sebastian vanished, in my opinion. And Monday morning is when the cover-up, in my opinion, began. That's just my opinion. They go to Texas Roadhouse because it's their go-to place. Loudest restaurant in Sumner County, especially on a Sunday night. Now, this never dawned on me, and how she got seated immediately. There were people waiting all outside. That is such a great point. How did she get seated immediately? That is actually such a great point, Gina. I had not thought about that. I feel that Miriam M, I feel the same way. In my opinion, they look identical. Wonder what type of car our Bishop drives. YC was in a silver Grand Wagoneer at Texas Roadhouse. Is that the vehicle? I do know, I did hear that there was a vehicle that sat in the parking lot for an hour, which is very unusual. Was that it, Liz? The silver Grand Wagoneer? Was it? And they didn't go in to eat and they didn't do anything else, but there was a vehicle sitting around in there. That's what I was told. So let me see what questions you have here. I think I highlighted a couple. Oh, the leaked phone call, they lose their mind about the niece. Absolutely. She's been through enough. And CP says, you don't want to go there, over there. That child's been through enough. Very defensive. But also in his description of who was there, he says Sebastian and other children. So I don't think there was only one child there. But based on what CP says there. But yeah, that niece. No, ma'am, I didn't. I never said I was picking up Melissa's daughter. So it was you leave her alone. She's been through enough, that child. You know, so that, yes, I totally agree with that. She was more vocal about that, in my opinion, that she's been about, like Gina H seems to be saying, about anything else, like about Sebastian, in my opinion. I certainly can, Miriam M. I'm going to have time to where I can get in there and do that. And I will absolutely, she is absolutely on my list. I know there's some good information coming out of there. Thank you for letting me know. I appreciate that. You know what, Wheezy Girl? I hope that is not the case because she is a young girl. So I hope that is not the case. Because she is a young girl. Right? We don't want any children. Yes. Is that the one where he had his friend Steve on there analyze it? That was a great one. Yes. Trying to go through your messages real quick. Sorry, y'all. I just want to make sure I get everyone's great messages. I realized I can star them now and go back to them. So that's what I'm doing. Yes, there we go. I think I heard either CP or KP mention that the niece was picked up from wherever they were at. In the PI call, I believe it was the bowling alley. Everyone left separately. Sebastian and KP. We'll have to listen to that again. But I like that what you're saying is, how did she get seated immediately? That's a great point. And you know, there have been two things that law enforcement has come right out on. One being the flashlight video, saying it was a trash truck. And I'm pretty sure most of us are in agreement that that's not a trash truck. And then they came out immediately with Green Hoodie, that was not related, which makes me question because they haven't come out with much of anything, right? But the fact that they came out about the flashlight makes, and then my opinion is those flashlights are relevant. It's the opinion of retired FBI agents, retired homicide detectives, retired investigators. We've heard them on YouTube. So to say the Green Hoodie, is that the same thing? Are they trying to just kind of take everyone away from it? Makes me wonder. Makes me wonder. We are going to definitely keep Sebastian. You heard that as well, Carrie Reiner? Mm-hmm. There was a car in the parking lot for over an hour. Unusual that it doesn't usually occur, that they don't come in and dine or anything. Oh, Kathy Kincaid, I have talked about him repeatedly. I was the first one who spoke of him, actually. Yes, leaving the vigil. Yep. He wasn't telling Seth at the vigil. The neighbors were asking him, people around were asking him because he had been at the command post, how are things going? And he began to tear up and put his head down and say, it's bad, it's so, so bad, and started walking away. Yes, that is accurate. Absolutely. But he didn't tell Seth that. He was at the vigil and people asked him, and it was like the neighborhood group heard him and saw it and thought it was odd because he's a law enforcement, and what would make a law enforcement agent cry like that? They're kind of seasoned, some of them, who knows? Maybe they're not. Maybe you're never seasoned to seeing a child go through that, right? Honestly, I have not, Retha Bell, I have not been on the updates lately, but I will go into the updates, yes. I know they are still very much so on it. That's what I'm just going to say. They also said in 4 hours, the dog walker was not involved. He lives there. Mm-hmm. Okay, yes, let's talk about it. So he left the vigil. I'm going to tell you what I know about CC and why he was on my radar very much earlier on. I even mentioned him to one of my sources who's like, oh, they're, no, they're a good family. I said, there's something there. They do live, CC is a part-time Hendersonville police officer. We, in the beginning, were hearing that KP may have a friend in the neighborhood, and that is who was on my alleged radar. Okay. He has a video surveillance, very sophisticated, directly behind the P-foots with night vision and audio. When they did a request to make sure everyone that day was putting in giving their footage to law enforcement, he did not respond. He was at, let's see, what else can I tell you? He was at the command post. He was also, as you know from dispatch, riding around in the car that first morning because they were telling about what houses, audio and video they had collected. And he said, well, I've got this house right with me in the car. Okay. He claimed there was only a cat that crossed his path on his camera, but I find that hard to believe with the system he has and where he's located, in my opinion. Okay. Let's see what else I can tell you. When SF put up that one photo of the backyards, remember? And he was like, see, there's nothing here. SF was not illuminating to us the common area where Sebastian would have walked through if someone had been carried through. He was illuminating CC's backyard. That was CC's backyard. Allegedly, in my opinion, CC's white truck he has a white pickup truck. We see in a lot of the satellite imagery, and this is my opinion, that at night put out a white pickup truck on the road. Also, one of the satellite imageries that at night put out is of CC's backyard as well. If you recall us going through it, we thought we saw someone kind of by the fences. And this was a few days before the 26th. It was the 23rd. Why would they illuminate his backyard? Also, if you recall, he has blurred his backyard on Google. Just some strange things, in my opinion. Also, he had a very strange reaction, which put him on other people's radar in the neighborhood when SF, remember when SF was being quite to the neighbors. Remember, SF was going in the neighborhood and the neighbors were just really nervous. Okay. Well, CC, I can tell you, had a CP-like temper tantrum in that neighborhood for others to see. Okay. So it's very strange. I don't know what it is. I don't know what he knows that is so bad. I don't know what he knew so early on at that vigil, that first vigil in the neighborhood. Just like being able to verify to TBI, Sumner County had to verify to TBI that Sebastian was unlawfully kidnapped. Verify it. Well, that footage, I believe it was the footage, the same footage that they said there was a 3 a.m. car, same footage that allowed them to know a stranger didn't come into the neighborhood, that it wasn't like a random act of opportunity, all of the above. He was there too, watching footage. He was at the command post. Many people were around. There were searchers, there were canine handlers, there were county commissioners, there was TBI, Sumner County, CC, the part-time Hendersonville cop. The DA was there on day 3, but they knew. They knew. So in my opinion, By the time Monday morning comes along, we are in not the vanishing that it occurred on Sunday. Whether it was 3 a.m., but I believe the plan occurred. Not Monday morning at 6 a.m. But the emotional roller coaster, in CP's words, according to the reporter, began Sunday night. And CP said, my parents couldn't be involved. They weren't there Sunday with KP and Sebastian. KP. They weren't there with KP. Meaning, in my opinion, we infer that the person that is involved was there Sunday with KP, in my opinion. What do you think? Give me a thumbs up on your way out if you would. Let's keep it alive for Sebastian. We're going to keep talking. We're going to report on Lily and Jack also, but we are going to keep reporting on Sebastian because we will not forget him. He has not been brought home. Who was all with them on Sunday? It was, according to CP in that interview that was recorded with the PIs, it was KP, Sebastian, his sister, Cassie and Melissa, and children. Okay, and we know one of them was a niece, but so that's who was there. Okay, but I agree about CC in my opinion. But I find it very, very telling, that statement. I think every time he speaks, he's like a golden nugget. He just can't help himself, right? So we are going to continue with Sebastian. We are going to... Oh, Gma, thank you for 7 months. You're right, 2 years plus. Thank you for 7 months. I appreciate you. It's good to have you here. All my mods, thank you so much for such a beautiful job that you do. Everyone here, I so appreciate each and every one of you. We are Sebastian's Army. We're going to continue being Sebastian's Army. And we are going to keep praying that they bring him home. Thank you so much for all you do. Wait a minute. Hold on. The silver Grand Wagoneer in the Texas Roadhouse video drove past the front. I am not sure if it was the one parked there, but I do know it showed YC and Mask Man in the driver's seat. Okay. Thank you so much, Bliss. Thank you all for your amazing insight. I hope I got to most of your statements or questions. Let me read this. I don't want to give anyone, especially CP or KP, any outs, but just went to Texas Roadhouse last week because my granddaughter and grandson wanted to go, and we got close called to be put on a list. We got close called to be put on a list. Oh, okay. Okay, so you're saying that might explain it? Okay, I see every time I've been there, they don't, you have to put your name on when you get there. So that's good to know. That's good to know. Hi, Pale Rider. How are you? Well, everyone, I so appreciate you. Hi, Bear 90. We're just talking about clues in the Summerwells case and clues that CP told us and KP showed us. Yes, Miriam M. That was my impression. That was my first thought. Yes, RKB. That's where he first got on my radar as well. Hi, Castle. How are you? Yes, that was my theory. Immediately, the rumors were she had a friend in the neighborhood, but Bobby thought it was the pastor, LOL. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, he's obviously emotionally involved. But also, I'm going to say something to defense. We've also seen officers who are searching for kids, and when they see certain things, we see them choke up, right? So he could have seen something on the footage that they were all watching at the command center. Am I saying it didn't come from his footage? No, I'm not. But there could, Bobby was defending the pastor neighbor. Well, I'm sure, you don't think anything, you got to think about this. Think about this from the neighbor's perspective. You wake up, a child's missing. You don't hear whether or not, some predator came crawling into your neighborhood. You hear nothing. And then as time goes on, you're starting to watch the neighbors on the TV and go, oh my goodness, this is interesting, right? And then you start hearing things about your other neighbors like CC, and you're saying a pastor. And it's got to be mind blowing, like, no, we don't live amongst this type. I mean, it's like you wouldn't ever envision you're living next to anything like that, right? So I get why Bobby was defending people, because those were her neighbors in her eyes, until she probably later on, I'm sure some of the neighbors, you all, if I have any in the house right now, as you're watching things, then I'm sure little things dawn on you. But who would ever think when you wake up to a child missing in your neighborhood that you're actually going to find out there might be small people involved in the neighborhood, allegedly, possibly? That's got to be mind-blowing, right? People you knew, maybe picnicked with, I don't know, had community gatherings with, go to church with, go to school with, whatever. So it's really got to be mind-blowing for the family or the neighbors, in my opinion. Right? Aw, thank you, Carrie. I love you and your passion, Jay. You've inspired me to start my own channel. I hope to do you proud and get it done soon. Keep me posted. Thank you. Keep me posted. Hi, Holly. Yes. Well, everyone, we are going to go ahead and get going on here. It is so good to see you. And oh, wait. Says, please share Crime Times Buzz live to bring more awareness to Sebastian's case and others. Thank you. Buzz your way to the thumbs up button. Thank you, Whispering Winds. Yes, we want to keep his name out there. Hit the thumbs up. Let's prayers up for Lily, Jack, Sebastian, Seth, everyone who's looking for all their children, all the missing children. Keep keeping on, and I will see you all soon. Thank you for everything you do. I appreciate each and every one of you for the time you choose to spend with me. It means the absolute world. And mods, thank you again for a phenomenal job making the chat feel welcome and keeping it classy, clean, and smooth. Talk soon, everyone. I will see you soon. Bye, Sebastian's Army.